So England are about to play Australia, the Australian Kangaroos in the Ashes, and they've been posting various clips of them training to social media, as well as a documentary from inside the camp to the England Rugby League YouTube. So we're going to take a look. This is part of a bigger documentary. We're going to take a look at a quick drill that we see in the YouTube documentary and see if we can glean any details of what's going on. So let's take a look.
That is the perfect finish. Very, very hard to do. Okay, is that fair enough? So this is going to be how things happen. I want you to get as perfect as you can. So you find something in this where you can control this tackle. All good? This is going to be fucking hard. Find the way, find the way. Post down! Post down! Find the way! We never fucking give in. I like it. Good, guys. Have a drink. Well done.
Okay, he says he likes it. Let's see what he likes. Let's see what details we can get from this. So first of all, so we've got, so he says that is the perfect finish. So let's take a look at what he means here. So we've got the ball carrier on their back, and then we've got two tacklers up top, and then we've got a legs tackler. So let's break down what he means about this is the perfect finish. And then he says it's very difficult to do. And he's right, you know, we're playing against the best players in the world. People who are paid to kind of win rucks, win play the balls, get fast play the balls, break tackles, make half breaks. So very, very difficult to do. But in an ideal world, this is how every tackle will finish in a game, but it's not. But I think what's important to do is try and give principles, and the defenders will kind of work to get as close to that picture that we see there as possible, even if they can't replicate it perfectly all the time. You maybe get a few tackles like this in a game. We've got the third tackler around the legs. So he was probably the last into the tackle. It was probably those two guys on the upper body were the first into the tackle. The first contact, you're usually looking to lock up the ball, make sure that they can't offload, but then also use it to kind of control them onto their back, looking to make that, win that contact, and then find probably an underhook, an overhook, and that's going to give control in the wrestle. The second tackler we see there, I think Morgan Knowles on top, he's going to be lending his control. He's going to be trying to, you know, take away the ball carrier's fight, compromise them mechanically, and just, you know, aid that guy who's locked up the ball. And, you know, in a defensive line, especially in the middle third of the field, basically if a ball carrier takes the interval between them, those two defenders are going to basically close the door together. Same foot, same knee, same shoulder, close the door together and not let them get their nose through the tackle to be able to find the front, find elbows and knees. Because obviously the attacker wants elbows and knees, probably wants to, you know, upset the markers a little bit, and that's going to be a ruck win. Whereas this would be a lost ruck, a lost play the ball for the ball carrier, for the attacking side. So what they're going to do, also just significant, we see in the background the post there. Can't be sure if they're working off the same field here, but I think it's very likely that the direction that the ball carrier's head is in is meant to be his own try line. So we often talk about, you know, get them on their back, wrestle them on their back, because that takes you just that split second longer to get up and play the ball. That's going to give the defense more time to get back, get organized. It's also less fatiguing than just quick rucks all the time and just being in reverse the whole game. So if you can get them on their back and you can get them, you know, with their head facing their own try line, that's going to be basically the slowest position for them to get up and play the ball. The other element of this is that when we've got three tacklers in like this, we can do what's called a peel. So that guy who's on the legs, like I said, was probably the last into the tackle. He's going to be the first out. So he's going to take his place back in the defensive line, probably go back to a defender. So that's the closest back in the closest back to the ruck to play the ball. And then those two guys are on the upper body. So the guy who's on top, you know, they're being nice and heavy there. What they're trying to do is really reduce that ball carrier's movement. They don't want him kind of wriggling, able to find his side, able to find his front in that tackle, because kind of the more space he's got, the more he's able to move and kind of resist. And that's going to also just going to encourage the referee to tell the tacklers to get off and make it a quicker ruck. And if they don't, there's a risk of a 6 again, the tackle count starts again, or even a penalty. So they want to get him there nice and heavy, get him locked up. They've got a collar grip there, so one hand gives an underhook under the ball by the looks of it, and then the other hand around the back. And then Morgan Knowles, the second tackler, is just, you know, being real nice and heavy in there, real nice and tight. Head's really stuck in. That's just going to stop that ball carrier from being able to move, wriggle around and create space. So Knowles there, who's on top, he's going to go back to second marker. And then the guy who's on the ball, who's probably the first contact, he's going to be first contact and last out of the tackle. So he's going to go to first marker. And that's what we call the peel. So if, when the referee says release or whatever, they all got up at the same time, they'll release the ball carrier at the same time. that means the ball carrier can obviously get up at the same time as them and play the ball. That's just they're probably not gonna be in the best position. They may not even be square at marker, so that might risk a penalty. So that peel, the head facing his own try line and on the back, 3 tacklers in, that's gonna give the slowest ruck, the slowest play the ball possible. Again, very difficult to do, especially against the best players in the world. But I think Shaun Wane here is just trying to show them what, you know, ideal world scenario looks like, and then you can kind of look for degrees within that, you know, little wins within that. So let's take a look at the drill.
The perfect finish. Very, very hard to do. Okay? Is that fair enough? So this is going to be how things happen. I want you to get as perfect as you can. So you.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, get as perfect as you can. So maybe we can't get the perfect tackle, but we can try and look for, like I said, those little victories within it, and get us close to that perfect picture that he showed us before.
Something in this where you can control this tackle. All good? This is going to be fucking hard.
As he said, this is going to be hard. Any kind of wrestle contact, this is really what, you know, is the conditioning demands of rugby league. And some players are making 20, 30, even 40 tackles a game. You know, this is what really burns the engine out. It's not just the running demands. Okay, first thing we see, so really significant here, they're starting on the knees. This is also significant in the context of an earlier clip that England Rugby League posted from inside the camp, where they had a much more collision, impact-based and tackle-based wrestle session on the mats. They're probably doing this on the knees, very conscious of that, trying to reduce the overall collision load, but still getting some tackle work in, still getting some control work in, which is going to be super important. And also, you know, players figuring out how to talk with each other. Remember, these players don't necessarily know each other, so they need to be comfortable talking, communicating in the tackle, and wrestling players onto the back together. So yeah, we've got first tackler who's up on his knees. He's probably going to be looking to get a control of the ball, because when we made that initial contact, win the contact first, and then obviously looking to control the ball. We don't want an offload, especially late in the tackle process when our defense is already thinking about retreating. Then it looks like the second guy is on his back. He's going to kind of flip over as quickly as possible, and often in this clip, he's coming like underneath the ball, maybe try and control the abdomen or even the kind of upper thigh, hips area a little bit more. Obviously, as Shaun Wane kind of alluded to, this is maybe the tacklers are not in the, they maybe lost that initial contact, they're not in the best starting position, but they're still looking for a little victory in contact, still looking to get as close to that ideal world, that perfect fit tackle finish as possible, even if they've lost the initial contact. That's a really important lesson. You know, just because you lose the initial contact, maybe you're knocked back initially, maybe the attacker has the momentum, you can still look for little wins. So maybe we can't get 3 tacklers in with their on the back, head pointing to their own try line, but maybe we can get them on their back. Or maybe we can get their head and their feet pointing east-west, touchline to touchline, and that's just going to make it a little bit slower than if they were kind of already north-south facing the opposition try line. So there's all sorts of little victories you can look for to try and control a ball carrier. Yeah, we see, just going back there, so we see Callum Watkins. He looks like he's got an overhook there on the non-ball carrying arm. That's obviously going to really help with control, and I would dare say we can't see his other hand, but I dare say he's got what's called an underhook under the ball, potentially, or maybe an overhook as well, and that's going to stop Mike Meekin there, kind of getting the ball carrying arm free, potentially for an offload, but it's also just going to help with the control of wrestling the upper body onto their back. Okay. Find a way, he keeps saying, find a way, you know, find those little victories in contact, find ways to control the opponent, even if you're not in an ideal starting position.
Never fucking give in.
We never give in, especially important, they're representing their country. And this is a pretty good picture. So we've got Oleski there, so they've managed to get John Bateman on his back. Ball's nice and secure, he's got that collar grip around the back. Looks like Kai Pearce-Paul. He's got his shoulder, you know, right into Bateman's stomach. That's going to make it really uncomfortable. Like I said, not the ideal picture that we saw Shaun Wane describing at the start, but pretty good considering the start point. You can also notice what they're doing with their hips there. So Kai Pearce-Paul looks like he's using his hips to really drive down into Bateman's body. That's going to make it very uncomfortable, make it very mechanically difficult for him to create space, get up and play the ball. Oleski, the same. He's even turned his hips into like a hip lock, where he's using the pressure of his hips down into the torso, into the upper body, and that's going to make it very difficult to get out, create space as well.
I like it. Good guy. Have a drink, bud.
And he's happy. He's happy with the contact in the application. So hopefully that was useful. Just one little drill, one little, you know, kind of very short insight we saw into the England preparations. probably notable that we have seen a few bits and pieces on social media that have been very contact tackle based. Sean Wayne, is a coach who really values physicality. And I don't think it'd be any secret that he really wants the England players to kind of go after Australia in the collision, in the wrestle, and kind of make it physically hard for them. Hopefully that was useful.